Hope your travels have been enjoyable and family is all well and healthy and happy. Happy Friday to you. Off-skid descent flew a Lear35 back in the day in our beautiful U.S. Air Force, and he purchased the plane, right? And he's been
Yeah,
flying it a little bit in P3D, not without a few technical glitches on the sim side, but
most are self-induced.
I've had similar symptoms that off-skids had. Blank screens on the GTNs, engines not working properly, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, yep, simisms are real. All right, so we're going to go inside the cockpit here, and Offskid's going to give me some lessons, a little here and there. The one nice thing about this plane is that you can have it started already, ready to go. But in this case, I'll go ahead and do a cold and dark.
I got my checklist. We're ready to go. Do you want to do a battery start or you want to do a GPU?
What do you prefer?
A GPU. The problem with the sim is the battery burns down way too quick.
Okay, so we'll go
You can't get through the checklist without killing the battery.
all systems off. And then I'm going to shift 2. I'm going to remove the, let's see, let's click on the GPU. There we go. Put in a couple pilots, sunglasses, headphones.
And something else I'd recommend, John, is get rid of your fuel in your fuselage tank, unless you're doing a long flight.
Yeah, this one's going to be a short one. This first one's only 121 miles. So, all right, let's see if we can remove our chocks. Yep, there we go. Chocks removed.
Yeah, see, none of that works in mine.
Wonder if it's a Microsoft redistributable problem. I don't know if what you've installed recently in the sim, but that's bizarre.
Yeah, read the forums. It's pretty common. I see a lot of other people have it.
Huh. D-Beams 1, how are you?
I just start the number 2 engine and use it as an APU. It's kind of what I have to do.
Very cool.
Which is what we did in the real jet if we didn't have a ground power unit.
All right, well, in this case, we do have a ground power unit. Let's see here. Oh, that's weird. So turning the ground power unit on automatically gave me some juice into the aircraft. I thought there was.
If you turn the batteries off,
Yeah.
and you turn the standby power off, you'll get a cold dead. You'll get a cold aircraft.
So let's go down here and hit. I have battery 1 and 2 off. That's interesting.
What about your standby power? Your standby battery?
Standby battery is the emergency
It's to the
battery.
left.
It's probably on.
Yeah.
Could be on
Should be
standby,
off.
but it's off.
Should be off.
Huh.
Okay.
Well, we'll just treat it. Well, I'm curious here. There's standby. Yeah, it should be off. Battery off. Battery off. Yeah, I guess the GPU kind of improperly turns the plane on, it looks like. That's interesting. I might go.
We could just disconnect the GPU right now, get through the first few steps, and then when we turn the battery on, you can connect it up. Make it a little more realistic.
Okay, so GPU is disconnected. Battery 1 and 2 off, standby power. Okay, it's all, I think we're good there. All right, I'm ready when you are.
You want me to just go step by step through the checklist?
Sure.
Yeah. I may reference a couple switches that are not in this sim. The Air Force Learjets had a little bit different sims in it. But the first step when you get in the airplane is you have the GPU hooked up, but with the batteries turned off, it's going to be cold and dark like this. Check the gear handle, landing gear handle down.
Okay,
The landing gear handle, this thing is tiny. I mean, you only need your finger, your index finger, and your thumb will cover that. So you want to check the landing gear handles down. That's the first step.
Where is the landing gear handle?
It's just to the right of your second GTN screen. It's tiny. So see your standby HSI come, or your HSI.
Oh yeah, this tiny one here. Okay, yeah. I always just use the G, and I never manipulate the 3D object in the plane. Okay, so yeah.
The only other plane I've seen that's got a gear handle that's almost that small is the 737 Max. Fuel jettison switch. So we're going to come down to our fuel panel, which is just after your throttle. So you're going to make sure that your jettison switch is off. So, and what the jettison does is it dumps your tip tanks, and it's going to be just behind the throttle. And it's a guarded, it's that wire guarded switch right to the right of the parking brake.
Fuel, okay, jettison right there. Oh, with the red bar on top of it. Okay.
Yeah, that one's real easy in the dark. I've done it for real. You're trying to move fuel to the fuselage tank, and you accidentally hit that, and you start peeing fuel all over the ramp. It's not good.
That is not good.
Crosswell switch, you want to check that that's closed. That's the one just beneath it. And that's used to transfer fuel back and forth to manage a fuel imbalance. But you rarely touch that switch.
Okay, close. Okay, it's closed.
Next we're going to do is we're going to take the fuselage fuel transfer switch. We're going to check to make sure that that's off. So on your longer flights, you're going to put fuel, or if you have if you have a really full airplane, you're going to have to put fuel in it back to maintain the weight and balance. So there's a tank just after the cargo bin. We rarely carried fuel in that, but what it does is this switch is the only way you can load is a load from the wing tanks, and you're going to use this switch to transfer. So you can see it's 3 position. Transfer is bringing fuel from the fuselage tank forward into the wing tanks. Fill is taking and pushing to the back to the fuselage, or the fuselage tank back there. We rarely carried fuel in there.
Tank to
you just want to make sure that's off.
Okay. All right, that's off.
All right, I want to check that the start generator switches are off.
Start generator switches. Those would be...
Those are the switches you use to start the engines.
Okay, so those are off.
Okay. Next step is you want to make sure the thrust reversers are off, and that's up on just above your autopilot panel.
Thrust reversers are off. Left and right.
Next, we're going to check the battery. So we're going to turn one battery on, and we're going to check the voltage and make sure it reads right around 28 volts. There's 2 batteries in this plane, so we're going to turn on battery 1. And then on the FO's panel, or actually right above your second GTN, is your electric panels and your hydraulic panels. And you want to look at the DC volts and make sure it reads about 25 to 28%.
Not quite 20.
Oh, it's 24. I guess it makes sense. It's battery. I'm sorry. 24. It's going to be 28 in flight. Okay. This airplane's a DC system, by the way. Most of the planes you fly, the generators generate AC, and everything's AC current. Okay. This plane's a DC jet. Just about everything in this plane is direct current. Okay. So what you want to do now is turn on the second battery.
That was second batteries. Oops. Or no, that was battery 1. Never mind. Okay, yeah, battery 2.
So you want to turn on battery 2. Turn off battery 1.
Turn off battery 1.
And you want to check the DC volts.
Good volts.
All right. Circuit breakers, you want to check that. Emergency power system, you want to check that. So there's 2 ways you can do this. If you have a battery on, probably the best way to do it is take the emergency battery switch to standby.
Okay.
Turn off the battery 2.
Okay.
We still have volts. Make sure you're reading DC volts. The way this system works, the battery system, backup battery system, is if your generators die, if you have it in standby, as soon as it loses that DC power, it's going to automatically, if you have it in standby, once it loses DC power, the batteries are going to immediately charge. They're going to power, half your flight controls and all that stuff. Okay. If you take it to on the standby battery, you're now bypassing the generators if they're working normally and using your batteries to run everything. But usually standby is the normal position in flight.
Okay.
So you want to take that back to off because you don't want to run your batteries down.
Okay.
Next, you want to check the circuit breakers. So just to the left knee of the captain and the right knee of the FO, you just want to run your hands down the circuit breakers and make sure nothing's popped.
Feels good on my side.
It's just a visual inspection.
Okay.
All right. After that, we're going to connect the external power. So let's go ahead and put the GPU on.
Okay.
Phone call. Hang on.
Roger. Finland Char, the EGCC video is on YouTube, or if you're a John Fly subscriber, you can catch it on the as a highlight on the Twitch channel, but it's also now on YouTube on my YouTube channel. So, Captain Tony Stark, good day.
All right. So now that we got the external power on, let's turn battery switch 1 and 2 on.
1 and 2 on.
All right. Hydraulic pump switch comes on. And when you put the hydraulic pump switch on, we want to check the hydraulic pressure, make sure it's in the green, and that's going to be up in that same panel where we check the DC volts.
Okay, hydraulic pressure is good.
And with the hydraulics, what they work is this plane does not have any hydraulic boost. So pretty much the hydraulics are just working the brakes. They're working the landing gear. They're working the thrust reversers.
Okay.
All right. Emergency air pressure indicator, we want to check that. And that's going to be just above, on the captain side, it's going to be just above your circuit breaker panel. To the left. Come on down a little bit. Keep coming down. There's an air pressure gauge right over there on the left side by that cup holder.
Oh, I see.
With that oxygen, okay, you got oxygen pressure there. And then, you know what, that's the wrong one, I'm sorry. Air pressure gauge is going to be over on the FO side. What the air pressure is, there's a bottle. If you have to emergency extend the landing gear because you've lost hydraulics, you've got to check this pressure gauge, and I don't remember where it is offhand. It might be just above your DC voltmeter too. Up there it is. It's just to the left of your oil pressure gauge. Just below the hydraulics. See
Okay.
emergency air.
Yep, emergency air. Yep.
That's the one. That's to blow your gear down if you lose hydraulics.
Okay.
This gear can't gravity. It can't gravity drop, so you got to use the air to blow it down.
Okay.
Guys, it's been 20 years since I've flown this plane, so you're going to catch me making small mistakes here and there. All right, next thing you want to do is I want to set the parking brake and make sure that the parking brake light comes on.
All right, parking brake. Pull it here, or I'll use my toggle. Oh, it's off. We want it on, right?
It's on. It's pulled out. It's good.
Yeah.
So there's no light in the sim, but in the real plane, when we did that, a light would come on.
Okay.
It may be up on the overhead panel too. There may be a parking brake light up there. Anti-skid switch goes to anti-skid, and that's going to be just below your number one.
Okay, anti-skid
GTN
is
screen.
on. Toto Rico's here. We've got so much emergency air that needle is off scale. That's true, Toto Rico.
And trust me, you want a lot of emergency air if you need that.
Hey, Puff. Puff MTD.
Oxygen system. This is where we check it at this point. That's where we're going to go to that oxygen pressure that's on your left side. And we're also going to take the masks, put them on, make sure the microphones work, make sure you can breathe, make sure you got good oxygen pressure.
Okay.
2 places, oxygen is either kept in the bottle. This is what killed Payne Stewart, you being a golfer.
Mm.
The bottle was turned off and they had a pressurization loss.
Mm.
So it's either kept, they used to keep them in the nose, and you can open up those nose compartments, and they speculated somebody got in there and turned it off. The later model Lears, they put this up in the tail where you can't get at the bottle real easy. Because just anybody could
speculation
open
that it was turned off on purpose.
I think a maintenance guy did it and forgot about it.
Oh, accidental rather than. Yeah.
Right. Or maybe one of the pilots in a walk around made.
I have another opinion on that whole situation, but that's for another day. There was a public comment that Payne had made the week or two before that I always had a bad feeling about. But anyway,
I'll have to research that.
Yeah, we can take it offline.
Next is the pitot heat, and this is a very low-tech way to check it, but basically you send the FO out, and he touches the pitot tube, and he gives you a thumbs up, and you turn it on.
Okay.
And then when you turn it on, it warms up. He's going to give you a wave. It says, "Hey, it works." And he's going to walk over to the right side of the plane. He's going to put his hand on the pitot tube, and he's going to give you a thumbs up, and You turn it on. If it works, he's going to wave and give you another thumbs up. And you turn it back off again. That's how you check the pitot heat.
Okay.
Very low tech. Flight controls, pretty straightforward. Static source switches, we're going to go to both. And that's over on the FO side. I think. Nope. Where are they? Actually, this is a C21 thing. This is not a FlySimWare, so we can skip that one.
Okay.
Emergency exit lights test and arm. That's the C21 thing. Emergency battery, take it to standby at this point.
Standby.
Left and right fuel computer switches. You want to make sure that they're on. Those are just to the right of that standby battery.
Oh, right there. They're both on.
And the bad thing about the way the Air Force is a read, say, and do checklist. So some
Okay,
companies would probably do a flow. The way the Air Force did it was one person read the checklist, the other person did it.
And they read it back. Okay, fuel computer on.
You don't have to read
Both
it back,
on.
but they would just say that.
Yeah.
No smoking seatbelt switch as required. And that's just to the right of your landing lights on the just forward of your throttle. You put that wherever you want to.
Okay.
Annunciator lights checked. So this one we have to go up to your MCP panel, and you need to change your view down. But underneath both fire warning lights, you have to come down and look underneath the panel. There's two tiny little pins.
Oh, I see those. Yeah.
You want to push either one and check all your lights work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go ahead. It works in the play. It works in the sim. Just go ahead and push it. There you go.
Christmas tree. That's awesome. I didn't even notice those before.
Yeah, most simmers don't realize those are there. This is where having flown the plane before, it kind of helps. Okay, primary and secondary inverters, you're going to check them and on. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to turn one inverter on, and we're going to watch that your ADI starts caging. You watch all your flight instruments come alive.
Yep.
You want to turn the second one on, turn the first one off, make sure they still stay alive.
Okay. Second one on, first one off, still cages, everything
okay,
still
good.
alive.
Then turn them both on.
Both
That's
on.
the check for that.
Okay. Both inverters on.
Okay, cabin altitude warning checked. So if you look forward of your throttle quadrant, just above where you turned on the fasten seatbelt sign, you're going to see a rotary switch with a press to test. You're going to turn that to cabin altitude, push the button, and listen for the alarm.
Oh. That was a weird sound.
Yeah, so that's your cabin altitude warning.
But that sounded like an engine spooling down. That was weird.
Next, we want to do we're going to do the stick puller and mock test, which you do the same way. Let's just go ahead and run through all these tests right now. Let's go through mock, push it, mock trim, push it, fire detect. You push the fire detect, look up at your fire lights.
Okay.
And with the left and right stall, you should get stick shakers.
I'm not getting any sound here. Hold on.
Guys, I'm thinking about doing a payware or a subscription service where you can get an off-schedule to plug in. You can have me in your jump seat as you guys flight sim.
Mock trim. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything right now.
See what happens with the stall warning.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anything right now.
What about fire detect? See if you get the fire lights when you do that.
Yep. So it just must be an option here. Hold on.
Call maintenance.
Yeah. Maintenance guys, I got I got a volume issue. Okay, so we're on chat. That's fine.
Just
All
make
right.
sure your GPU is connected.
Citation max. Oh, you got to hold it down. He's saying. Thought the GPU. Oh, the GPU is disconnected for whenever. Oh, when I turn the inverters on. Oh, that's interesting.
We may lose a battery here.
Okay, GPU's back in play. Thank you.
Check your battery voltage real quick. Make sure we didn't kill a battery. That's the one bad thing about the FlySimWare. Is if you leave it on battery power too long, it burns the battery down really quick, which is not what happens in real life. In real life, you've got a good 30, 40 minutes on these things.
If
There's
you
two
have a
of them.
good battery.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do mock here again.
Good catch, guys, in the chat, whoever caught that.
Yeah, mock trim didn't do anything. Stall, hold it down. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything. But fire detection is working. Normally you'd hear like
You'd hear the tones go off. The stall warning, the stick shaker is going to go.
I wonder if this is in the what's considered the environment instead of the cockpit, maybe.
Yeah, it worked in mine. When I flew this yesterday, it worked in mine.
Oh, I heard engine spooling down there for a second. Battery might be dead. It's possible. Well, I'm on GPU though right now,
Yeah, it should be recharging.
and I show good voltage. I mean, yeah, 28 volts.
All right, we'll continue on. So we ran through all the tests. Landing gear position lights, you want to check that. So to the left of that tiny little landing gear, there's a little black rheostat.
Yep.
You want to take that test switch to test and watch the 3 red lights come on.
3 lights came on.
See what it says test and mute.
Mm-hmm.
Take it to test. There we go.
You're on delay a bit.
Yeah, I'll give it more time. Cabin air switch, you want to turn that off.
Cabin air, there's on and there's off. Okay.
You just want to make sure it's off. You don't want to put that on until you're ready to take off because the plane will start pressurizing.
Alrighty.
Pressurization, automatic, manual switch, you want to make sure is an auto.
Okay. Pressurization set to auto.
Cabin altitude rate knob set. You just leave it where it's at. It's not going to matter in this sim.
Okay.
But that just controls the rate of climb and descent. And in flight, we'd play with that to make sure that it was like a comfortable climb rate with the cabin altitude. You want to set your what your flight is going to be. So in this case, at the 12 o'clock position, you want to put whatever your cruise altitude is going to be. So you see that little, and you see it's going to keep you at sea level until you're 24 to 26. So if you're going to get above 28, you need to set that. The number at the top is going to be what your cabin pressure is going to be at cruise, and then that bottom number is you want to put whatever your cruise flight is.
Okay.
Nice thing about this one is if you don't get to that altitude, you're not going to get an obstacle descent light.
There you go.
All right, bleed air switches, you want to make sure that they're on. I believe those are way over to the right, far right, on the FO side. You see where they're at?
Mm-mm. Bleed air right there.
Yeah, it's a 3-position switch. It's on,
So on,
off, and emergency. Yeah, you just want to make sure they're on. That's the default position.
Okay, they're on. All right.
You just took it to emergency. You don't want that.
Like I said, you're on delay.
All right, next you want to come down and check your fuel quantities. There's a rotary switch just aft of your throttles that you can scroll through each tank. There's 5 tanks.
5 tanks. Wow. Okay, so yeah, so we got fuselage, left wing, left tip, right wing, right tip, total.
Yeah,
Okay.
the total's a good place to keep it in. That's where we usually kept it. The way the system, the Lear has a really ingenious fuel system. So it's got jet pumps that has no moving parts. And once you get an engine started, those jet pumps use the venturi. And what it's doing is it's constantly sucking fuel from your tip tanks and dumping them into your main wing tanks. Now the fuel is actually burning from your main wing tanks. That's where all your fuel comes. But it's that those jet pumps are constantly taking fuel from your tip tanks and keeping your wing tank full. That makes sense.
Yep.
If you lose your jet pump, you're going to lose 50% of your tip tank if you haven't burned it all.
Okay.
So basically, fuel is designed to flow outboard in. It doesn't flow inboard out.
Okay.
Standby pumps, those usually aren't used very much. That's just if you get an imbalance, you're going to use that in that cross flow switch to move fuel back and forth between the left wing and the right wing. But if you don't have a fuel imbalance, you don't have to worry about it. So generally, the standby pumps are not used much. They're just used to keep the fuel with the wings in balance. So we're going to check the fuel quantity. Just beneath the parking brake, there's a little dial. That's a fuel counter.
I see that. Yeah.
You would just want to hit that little button and reset it to 0.
Okay. Reset 0.
All right, jet pump switches, you want to make sure that they're on.
Jet pumps on.
Standby pumps, you just want to check them. I forget how we check these, but you turn it on. I forget how we check these. We would turn them on one at a time. I don't remember if we looked for an amperage drop or if we looked for a light to come on. If anybody ever flew Lears and remember how this was done, I do not remember that part.
Okay.
I'm going to have to call my Learjet buddy and ask him those questions.
Hey, Tel West, how you doing?
All right, trim system. Big thing with the trim system here, John, is you're way out of pitch trim. If you look,
I see that. Yeah. So if I take my trim and
you want to run your pitch trim forward down into that little aft and forward little range, or at the 9 o'clock position, right there.
All right.
The other thing you'd want to do is you want to look down at the gauge. You'd want to run your aileron trim, make sure that it's working. Run your rudder trim, make sure it works.
I ran into a problem with that one day. Okay.
All right, yaw dampers, you want to check those. So what you're going to do is you're going to power it on. Turn on both the left and right yaw damper. Hit the power button on both. Engage the left one.
They won't stay engaged, but.
All right, we'll hit the test button. Let's see what it does.
It's moving that middle.
Okay. This was actually in the real plane. This was involved. And on my checklist, I got a bunch of notes. But we turned on the autopilot while we did this. You're looking for the autopilot to kick off. We'd run rudder and all this other stuff. But for purposes of sim, I think the test button is going to be fine. You're going to turn those off again, and we're not going to turn that. We're not going to use the yaw damper again until after we get airborne.
Okay, I'm going to change my view here to like right there. Oops. There we go. Go over to chase plane, pedestal. Okay, so 4 to 2. Okay, all right. By the way, guys, go ahead.
You can turn those yaw dampers back off again.
So this down here is only yaw dampers. This is not the autopilot then?
No.
Okay.
And the autopilot, it takes a little getting used to. This is an older system. And
we can talk about that. I just thought maybe the second button here was autopilot, but
no, this is strictly the yaw damper.
We'll just keep going down the list. When we get to the autopilot, we can talk about that.
It's a great segue because that's where we're going
now.
Okay.
Okay.
So the next thing on the checklist is going to be turn off the hydraulic pump switch off.
Hydraulic pump off.
Yep. And in this case, we're going to go the autopilot, monitor, and flight director checked and or on. So in this case, you want to take the autopilot switch and turn it on. And the autopilot switch in this airplane is misnamed. It really should be flight director. If you think of that autopilot switch as more the flight director switch, it's going to make a lot more sense.
Because it doesn't actually engage the autopilot, yeah.
It does not engage the autopilot. You engage the autopilot up on the overhead panel.
Yeah.
So what you do here is come up to that overhead panel, and let's just hit the engage button, which is right in the center.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything.
But we're going to leave that flight director switch on at this point.
Okay.
I forget what else we checked here. Takeoff data, we want to compute it and bugs set. So the Lear, everything is based on takeoff, is based off of your rotate speed, or your V2 speed, I mean. So we need to calculate the V2 speed, and everything on landing is based off of your VREF speed on when to drop flaps. What the FlySimWare doesn't have that the real plane had, that kind of, the DC-10 had it too, was there were actual little plastic tabs on your airspeed indicator. There were 4 of them that would slide, and you'd set the speeds based on your weight. Unfortunately, FlySimWare doesn't have that, so we can't set the speed bugs on this.
Okay.
We have to remember it. So the big thing we need to do now is we need to find how much the plane weighs, and we need to figure out what our V2 speed is going to be.
Okay. Total, let's see. So I've got fuel weights. I wonder, oops. Close that one. There's a max weight of 18.5, empty weight of 13.5. Yeah.
So that 13.5 plus the weight of the pilots.
Total weight 16,871. But this is going to change because once I taxi out to the runway, I'm going to start my FSEconomy situation, and it's going to load different fuel, but we'll be in the ballpark with.
Well, we'll do 17.
Okay.
So we're looking at a 131. So just remember, 131 is going to be our
131 and Bush covers code 3.
And then plus 30 knots. You need 30 knots as the max number on that. So 161 is going to be our mid-flap retraction speed.
Okay.
And in the real plane, on this, again, you had these little plastic tabs you could slide on the airspeed indicator to mark that. So we'd mark 131 and we'd mark 161.
Okay.
All right, so that's our speed and bug set. Let me get back in my checklist. Avionics master switch, we want to turn that on at this time, and now we're going to load up our flight plan.
Oh, Snak.
Oh, Snak. We just got hosted with the Mosted. Limbless Dwarf with the host. Thank you, Limbless. I appreciate the support. All right, can you repeat that one last? Oh, avionics on?
Yeah, turn your avionics master switch. At this point, you'd want to do all your instrument checks. You'd want to go in and make sure your ILS works right. Do your VOR check. Now, how do you keep your name from coming up on that?
You can't.
I have to blank.
But don't point it out.
I have to blank my screen when I.
Yeah, don't point it. Let's not talk about it.
Got it.
Okay, so avionics on.
At this point, you'd program up your flight plan.
Okay, so I'm just going to simulate an IFR route today. This will be flight plan.
I'm going to be AFK for a moment.
By the way, we're in New Jersey.
How you doing?
How you doing? Cape May.
Cape Mays. Yeah. Cape May is a nice part of Jersey.
And we're going. All right. You'll come back in a second, I imagine. Okay.
Yep.
ENO. And then after ENO, we're going to do an airway, which is 268. We're going to exit 268 at Baltimore. We'll load that in. After that, we're going to KFDK. Transponder 5521, altitude reporting. Boom. Boom shakalaka. Boom, there we go. The other bit of news here in the flight sim world, gentlemen, is that the the TOLUS A321 has been released, and there are several people streaming it. So if you did want to check out the A321, be sure to check out the several streamers that are streaming it right now. And a little bit of breaking news. I won't be getting the 321 at this moment, but I will be giving one away. Courtesy of Dogo DR, we're going to be giving away a TOLUS A321 for X-Plane either tomorrow or Sunday. We do have PB&J and M tomorrow late morning, midday Eastern. But yeah, we'll be giving away the TOLUS. I can't afford the TOLUS myself, but we'll be giving one away, courtesy of Dogo DR.
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back. Thank you. Flight plan is in. We're going.
All right. Checklist is almost done.
ENO Victor 268 Baltimore.
Last thing we have to do is just uncage the standby attitude indicator. In this case, it's already uncaged.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. Okay.
And then coffee heat switch as required. It's not modeled in this plane.
Okay.
And then before starting engines, checklist is complete.
Before start engine, checklist complete. Yeah, D-Money's definitely get your snacks ready.
Next will be the starting engines checklist.
Okay.
Do you like going through this step by step like this?
I do. There's time and a place for expedited startup and walkthrough, but this is the comprehensive, this is the comprehensive look that's really, really informative. So thank you.
Yeah, this is how the Air Force flew it. All right, so the before starting engines or the starting engines checklist, so you want to go air conditioning switch is going to be off or fan. We'd usually take it to fan.
That's over on the.
It's on the right side.
Oh, it's on the right.
You see those two rheostats, the two black rheostats, just to the right of your. It's just below your pressurization.
Just below my pressurization.
There's two black rheostats. Look just to the right of the black rheostats.
Oh, right here, the big black. Okay, so auto, and is that right?
Yeah.
These
What you want to do is what you want to do is you actually want to take that switch to the right of that and take that either to off or fan.
Okay, so it's off. It's cool. They got cool, off, and fan. So off.
Okay, there's a couple things in my checklist that you're not going to have. We had some planes configured to do air medical evacuation, so let me skip through those. And a collision lights, we're just going to go to red on the beacon. So basically, beacon is going to be on.
Beacon on. And yes, FlySimWare, I'm very much looking forward to that comprehensive 787 run through for sure. Remember last time we got bitten when we didn't do the whole thing. It was my choice, but yeah.
Nav lights will come on also.
Nav lights on.
Okay, this is real important. Throttles, both of them cut off.
Okay, throttle. In fact, that's what happened to us in the 787. I was supposed to check throttles idle, and they weren't. Okay, throttles are idle.
Actually, you want them all the way back and cut off. There's an idle position, and then if you look real closely at the...
oh, yeah, they're all, okay. Oop.
It's not modeled, but zoom in if you could on that emergency brake.
There we go. Now I can do this. Okay. The emergency brake. Okay, yeah.
Zoom in real close. See that little trigger, little gray trigger on the throttle? In the real jet, you can't pull those throttles back to cut off. You actually have to lift that trigger up.
Like a detent. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the citations as well. Yeah.
So that's just an emergency feature to keep you from accidentally shutting the thing off in flight.
Okay.
All right, so we're ready to start it. And the way you're going to start it, you're just going to take that, like you did in your video, your really good video you did. You're just going to take that start generator switch to start. And you're going to watch for the RPM or the N2 to roll up to, usually we started the number 2 engine first. We wouldn't start the number 1 until the VIP came on board because you don't want that engine screaming in his ear.
Okay, so number 2.
Yep.
And then we're looking for...
You're going to go to the engine gauges and you're watching for the turbine to get up to 20%.
And then once that's to 20, then you can
pop the throttle forward over the gate. It's going to throw fuel. We'll see the EGT light off. You're going to watch the EGT rise. And then when you see the EGT, you do a tiny little rollback. The engine started.
Okay.
And then you'll put the generator online.
All right.
So what this is doing is when you take this to start, it's starting the standby pump on its own. And then once you take this start switch out back to off or gen, that standby pump kicks off on its own, and the jet pumps at that point the jet pumps are kind of self-contained at that point, or self-running.
Okay.
The jet pump's really ingenious. If you guys ever Google how the jet pumps in this thing work, it's a really ingenious design that Bill Lear came up with. No moving parts, they don't break.
Here we go. Oops, wrong click. Start.
And in the sim, it starts really fast. In the real jet, it doesn't.
Yeah, we got no N2. Yep, this has happened before.
Yeah, I had to start over again when I do this with the default plane.
This happened to me once before, but I was able to...
What's your battery?
Oh, it's really low. Did the GPU disconnect again? Oh, it just shut off.
Yeah, put the GPU back on.
It's funny how the GPU disconnects on its own. It's kind of weird. Hard to start a plane with a dead battery.
And that's the bad thing with this FlySimWare is the battery.
It's a little too quick. I bet you that's not too difficult to modify. I'm assuming that everything is in the correct position.
Yeah, you didn't turn anything off.
Oh, I even got turbine. Oops.
Yeah, now it's wrapping up.
Yep. And I do have that sound problem, so there's no... There we go, I got sound. All right, cool.
So there's your light off, there's your rollback on your EGT. Now you can take that generator switch up to right generator.
Okay, give me just 1 second here. All right, you're on chat, you're on music. I'm going to switch this back to music. Just because I want to control the sim volume. Separate from you.
And guys, I am working on a off-schedule descent plugin. So you guys can have me talk you through this stuff for a substantial subscription fee.
$1,000 per minute. All right, let's do. There's the engines. Let's tune that down. Oh, we got a subscribe.
Good day, John and chat.
M9 Aviation with the subscribe. Thank you, M9. I appreciate that. Is FlyJohn on? FlyJohn's not on. We better get FlyJohn on for Dogo there. Sorry about that, Dogo. All right, FlyJohn is on. Thank you, M9. I think you can modify that setting in the aircraft CFG file under battery rate or something to that effect.
We got a subscribe.
We do have a subscribe. Okay, that might be something we need to look into.
We got a subscribe.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed that part. So now we're going to go to right gen. Is that right?
Yeah, take it to right gen. And once you get the generator online, you can disconnect that power card. Although it looks like it's disconnecting itself a lot today.
It is. It's done. It's out. Okay. All right.
And I guess we'll turn the hydraulic switch back on at this point.
Hydraulics on.
And you're going to check the engine instruments, make sure everything looks good with that first engine start.
In the green, engine number 2.
Okay, then we'll start, once the VIP's on board, you close the door, you'll start number 1.
Kate Upton is on board, starting number 1. Oh, I was right. Did the wrong click. Okay, we're waiting for 20%, right?
Yeah, 20%.
There's 11.
And the real jet, it does not start nearly this fast. It takes about 3 times as long as this.
Okay, adding fuel. Yes, she is. Yeah, she's on board. In fact, she stopped me on the ramp and said, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the plane once we're airborne?" I said, "Anytime you want to, ma'am." What's interesting, I've never seen this before, but it's blanked out the comm system on my GTN. It's a big old red X.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Huh.
But I'm not that smart. I spent all day yesterday trying to get that problem fixed with the blank screen.
Do I need to... Okay, sorry, I may be jumping ahead, but maybe the bus needs to be on primary?
It doesn't matter. You can do either. But yeah, you can do primary.
Okay.
And what we're going to do now is put the left generator on.
Okay, left generator. On.
Check your annunciator panel, and you want to make sure that the current limiter light is out.
Only thing lit up is stall and pitot heat.
Yep, we'll get those on taxi out.
Okay.
In air conditioning and cabin aux heat, which we don't have in this plane, starting engine checklist is complete. You ready for a before taxi checklist?
Yes.
All right, before taxi checklist: seat belts, shoulder harnesses, and seats secured and adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
Cabin door closed and door light is out, and the door light's gonna be on your annunciator panel.
Okay.
Spoilers and spoiler-ons, you want to check this. So what you want to do in this case is just forward of your throttle on the right side is your spoiler switch.
I see that.
And the way we would do this is you would start working. The way this would work is you're going to take the yoke and you're going to throw it to the left. As you throw it to the left, you're going to extend it. And you're going to feel the yoke kind of jolt a little. And then you're going to go to the right. And then you're going to retract it. You're going to feel the yoke jolt a little. And that's telling you the spoilers are deploying. And that little thing is, the little jolt you're feeling is as if you're moving. As you get a certain amount of bank, some of the spoilers on the downgoing wing deploy. You're just checking to make sure that that's happening using that spoiler switch.
Okay.
You don't have auto brakes in this plane, so you've got to use that spoiler switch every time you land. It's kind of like your speed brake in the 7.3.
And you do that on landing?
On landing and on reject. You do reject to takeoff. So you get to
so like when on landing do you hit that?
Pretty much as soon as I pull the throttles to idle, I'd reach right down and grab that switch and deploy it.
This plane's a little bit difficult to fly single.
Yeah, it is. It's also very difficult to fly because there's no auto throttles in the sim, and it's very pitch sensitive.
Just to do all of the it'd be very difficult to reach over and just turn on the beacon light as a left seater by yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Well, actually, it's not difficult because it's tiny.
Oh, is it tiny?
Yeah. Look down at that center instrument panel. Down between your legs, that's only about 6 inches wide.
Okay, so it just feels a little bit like it's a reach. But yeah, okay. All right.
No, it's tiny. I mean, you can easily reach a crotch with your hand and touch the other wall.
Okay.
This is a tiny, 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 really cramped cockpit. A couple things I didn't like. See the lights just below the FO's rheostats there? See that little flexible light? That little map light?
Just below the...
It's on the right side. There's above the FO's cup holders. You've got them on your side too. There's a little flexible map light.
Oh yeah, I see that.
Yeah. This thing's so tiny. We call those the arm burners. And there's no floor heat. So if you flew more than 2 hours, then your feet just absolutely freeze.
Wow. Okay.
But that's my only gripe with the Lear. It's really hot because there's so much glass up there.
Mm.
On a bright sunny day, it gets really hot up there. And so we're trying to cool it down for us, and the passengers screaming because you're freezing them out. But other than that, this is my favorite plane I flew. So anyways, the before taxi checklist, let's see, let's continue on. So spoilers, the spoiler-ons we checked. We're going to check the flight controls again, which we kind of just did. Remove the chocks. Parking brake is released, lights out, and the before taxi checklist is complete.
Okay. Parking brake off. Oh, it needs quite a bit of thrust to get moving.
This plane burns about 1,500 pounds your first hour.
Oh, I need to do my steer lock because I don't have any gear.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's weird about this. So if you look on the yoke, there's a yellow switch under your, or I'm sorry, there's a red button under your left hand.
Yeah.
As long as you're holding that button down, you've got the steer lock engaged. So some guys would taxi using that, but as soon as you release that button, the steer lock's not engaged. The steer lock button down on your radio panel.
Oh, it's simulated if you hold that down. Wow.
But the easier way, sometimes your finger, if you have a long taxi, your finger gets tired, so you can use the steer lock button, which is just what it says. You just press that once,
Yeah.
and it's locked. To release it, you just hit that red button on your yoke.
And then, of course, for takeoff, we want to have that.
You want to have it disengaged.
Yeah.
But I've noticed in the sim at about 40 knots, it disengages on its own.
Oh.
And whenever you're ready, we can run through a taxi checklist whenever you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so the first step is nose wheel steering is checked, which I think we've just done.
Yeah.
Brakes, you want to check those, and just tap the
Okay,
brakes lightly,
brakes.
just make sure that they work.
Can you test them on your side, please, sir?
Landing and taxi lights,
Oh, he just
you
did
want to turn those on. So if you look at your landing lights, there's two positions. There's three positions. There's off, there's taxi, and then there's landing.
Okay, landing lights are on taxi. All right.
All right, you want to verify that the spoilers are retracted and that the spoiler lights are out. The spoiler lights up on your annunciator panel.
Okay, it's extinguished.
All right, flaps is going to be as required. Normal takeoff position is the first flap position, which is flaps 8.
Flaps 8 set.
You could do flaps 20 if you have an obstacle or a short runway. You might do flaps 20, but that's rare. Trim as required. Again, you want to make sure your trim is in the takeoff trim position.
Trim's in takeoff position.
Circuit breakers, both you and the FO or co-pilot want to check those again. Just physically take your hand, run them along, and make sure none are popped.
Okay, circuit breakers checked.
Volt and ammeters, you want to check those.
We got 28 volts. Amps are
We want to test the thrust
50,
reversers.
50 amps.
So the thrust reversers are going to go up and hit each test switch just above the annunciator panel to the test position. And it doesn't do it in the sim, but in the real jet, that actually deploys them.
Okay, so it says it's deploying them.
There you go.
Arm deploy. Okay, tested.
All right, so that's that part of the checklist. Flight data recorder set, it's not in the sim. Navigation equipment, you want to set this for departure. So if you're going to fly a VOR radial, you want to have your radial set. If you're going to fly off your GPS, you want to have that set. And we can set up the autopilot flight director at this point.
Okay.
Are you going to do an RNAV departure? Are you going to fly a heading or
Radar vector. Yeah, heading.
Radar
Runway heading.
So what you can do, John, is how high are you going to go initially?
Cruise is only at 10,000, so.
So what you can do in your altimeter is that little, if you look at your altimeter to the bottom left is your altitude set. Set that at the altitude you want to climb to.
$10,000 set.
Come up to your flight director and hit an altitude arm. Or altitude select, I guess is what it says.
Oh, on the
just below the annunciator panel.
That's armed.
On your pitch. And then let's just go ahead and hit setting or heading on your roll.
Heading.
So what you're doing is right now that you're setting your flight director, your command bars are going to give you whatever heading you have in your heading select on your HSI.
Okay.
And the altitude arm is going to set to capture the altitude you have programmed on that altitude select on your altimeter.
All right, we've been told by the tower to line up and wait.
A couple other things I want to talk on the pitch roll real quick. On that pitch, you have to set, this is what makes this plane hard. Unlike the 737 where once you gauge the autopilot, you can set a vert speed. This one you can't. You actually have to fly the plane to the vert speed you want. And then when you get that climb rate,
Then you can
then
hit
you hit that vert
IAS.
speed. And on the real jet, you could actually run your pitch trim button to increase that or decrease that. It does not do that in the sim. Okay, we got a lineup checklist we need to do.
Okay. Pitot heat probably would have been on by now, or is that part of this part?
It's the lineup checklist is where you get that. And we
Okay.
start running that about probably 500 feet from the end of the runway.
Okay.
So parking brake is going to be release lights out. Pitot heat is on.
Pitot heat left and right on.
Engine anti-ice systems as required.
Not required.
Anti-collision lights are as required. So what we did was during the day, we would run just the red beacon light. I'm sorry, during the day, we'd run the strobes. At night, we would not run the strobes.
Okay, strobes are on.
You also want recognition light will come on as well. Recognition light, those are the lights in the on the tip tanks.
Okay.
Steer lock is off. IFF master switch is just, you want to make sure that your mode 3 is.
That's just interesting. I'm hitting my steer lock, and it's
Yeah,
not.
it's going to kick off on its own at about 40 knots.
Okay.
Just be real tight, gentle on the rudder. Air ignition switches left and right on. So on the 7.3, this is the same as going left continuous for takeoff.
Air ignition left, air ignition right. All right, it's on.
So that's just going to help if we get something happens with the, you don't want to have an engine fail right at takeoff. So this might, if you had something interrupt the airflow, this might get an engine to relight off.
Okay.
Radar as required. Landing and taxi lights can be landing light or taxi. It's your choice.
Okay, landing light on.
Thrust reverser switches arm.
Thrust reversers to the arm position. Okay. And so for
So
landing, that has to be armed in order for them to deploy.
Correct.
And I think the sim doesn't model that because I think I was able to deploy them without arming them.
Stall warning switches go to stall warning.
I could be wrong on that though, but. All right, stall warning switch is where again?
That's just above your throttles to the left on the lower instrument panel.
Oh
Just
yeah,
forward
stall
your
warning.
throttles.
There we go. Stall warning. Yep.
Yeah, it took me about 3 days to relearn this plane. And then heading indicators, you want to check those. You want to make sure that your course is set for your departure. Your heading is set for your departure.
That's
Your
the
heading
biggest
bug.
complaint I have about P3D is that there is no heading sync. You have to do it manually.
Yeah, the real plane has a heading sync, which is real nice. You hit a button and it automatically slews that.
Yeah. All right.
And you want to make sure that compass matches your runway heading.
And where is, okay, so where's the compass? Up here. Okay, yeah, we're good.
And one more thing, it's not on my checklist because we didn't have this on our plane, but you go ahead and turn on
You broke up. Turn on what?
the radar altimeter.
Radio altimeter
not-
on?
Yeah, it's not on my checklist because we didn't have these in our, it's here.
Okay.
So where you read this is, if you look at your HSI real quick,
Mm-hmm.
this really threw me off. On the right side, see that green, that looks like the glide slope indicator on the right side, that little green needle that's up at top. And your horizontal situation on the right side,
On the
opposite the glide slope. It says 200, 100, and then the green is on 0.
200, 100. Where is that?
On the right side of your heading horizontal situation indicator.
On the right
Look at
side of the HSI.
Yeah, you're down on the compass. Come up one. Your artificial horizon.
Oh, the 100, 200. Okay.
This is what throws me off because this is opposite of the 7.3. That green that's reading 0, that's your radar altimeter. So as you take off, you're going to see it drop to 100, then 200. Your glide slope is on the left side.
Okay.
So when I first flew this, I'm like, why am I off glide slope? Why am I off glide slope? Because I was reading the radar altimeter. You can also set that way over in the FO side.
It's way
There's
yeah, on the DH.
On the FO side down low, you can see he's got another radio altimeter.
Yeah, I see that radar altimeter there.
And then you can set that bug to have that yellow light come on. Right now it's set to come on at 200 feet, but you can set it lower if you wanted.
Okay.
But other than that, the lineup checklist is complete.
All right. Nusrets,
So again,
1111. How are you doing?
Remember, 130 is our rotate.
Oh, yeah, I got to start FSEconomy, so it's going to change a little bit. Oh, is FSEconomy down? Don't say it's so. No, it's good. All right, good.
It's just remember, John, this thing is really thrust sensitive. And because there's no auto throttle, so you've got to really stay on top of it. I have a hard time flying this plane, hand flying it. And even when the autopilot's on, you still got to watch that. You still got to watch your thrust settings. Because 200 knots, you overspeed the flaps in this thing, which is easy to.
All right. FSEconomy passenger fuel's all set up. All right. Out of curiosity, I wonder if it does change the payload here. We're still about 17. So, yeah.
Yep, the number I gave you is still going to be good.
Okay, 131.
Yep, 131, and then 161 is your min flapper track. Everything is based off of your V2 speed or your VREF for landing.
All right, shall we go?
Let's do it.
I feel like my angle of view is off a little bit, so let me change this here. Again, over to the chase plane. I'm going to do camera. I'm just going to... No, I don't want that. I don't want that. This is a fine art.
Yeah, you got to slide forward a little bit, otherwise you get too much of the top of the windscreen. I did this a couple days ago.
I want to be able to see the GTNs, but I guess that'll have to do.
And this plane's a little rocket, so.
All right, there we go. A little bit of engine sound. There we go.
They have modeled these engine sounds really nice.
I can't hear you over the sound of these awesome engines. All right, we got gear coming up.
If you reach up real quick and hit speed, you can get your flight director to give you a nice climb command on the pitch mode on your AFCS.
Speed?
A good FO would do that for you. Watch your speed.
We've hit
overspeeding
speed.
your flaps right now.
All my flaps are up.
Okay, good.
Once we got up to about 200, I went flaps up. All right, so I need to trim. All right, let's see. Okay, we're still on a runway heading. All right, I'm going to engage. We're at IAS. Whoa, it's really pitching up.
It's real pitch sensitive. Yep. So what you do is crank the throttles back a little bit. Climb out at about 85 instead of 90.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right, FO, come down here.
And John, as I play this thing, I find that the
no,
pitch,
my waypoints are gone. Oh,
I find I
Snak.
fly this, that the
Oh,
pitch
Snak.
doesn't work real well.
Oh, Snak.
What I find works best
Oh,
is the
Snak. Autopilot coming off. I was diving. Manual turn to the left. Hand flying
vert
it.
speed works the best in this sim, I've noticed.
So vertical speed is basically what I'm at right now, what I'm pitching.
Yeah, so if you set it to like 1,500 foot per minute climb.
All right, so I'll continue. Well,
Yeah, you weren't very stable when you set that. You need to be stable.
I'm gonna hand fly this for a little bit here.
Would you like an after takeoff checklist?
Yes. Well, no. Let me get
There's a
stable.
couple things we need to do, like get the yaw damper engaged.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
All right, so the first step is landing gear. We're going to check it's up.
Okay, up.
Yaw damper engaged, so we're going to turn on both the left and right, and we're going to engage the left because you're flying.
Okay. Engaged.
Yeah. TR switch is off.
Which switch?
TR thrust reversers, TR switch is off.
Off. Okay.
All right, check the flaps are up. NI systems as required. Air ignition switches can come off.
Okay, just 1 second here. All right, air ignition coming off.
Landing lights can come off.
Landing lights coming off.
No smoking seatbelt switch as
Wait,
required.
at 5,000 feet, landing lights off?
In this case, just the landing lights. We're leaving the other lights on.
I wouldn't do that in the real world, but
I'm just telling you how the AO indicators, you're just going to check those. And those are the indicators just above your artificial horizon.
okay, give me just a second here. I'm going to set a course. I'm going to go into heading mode. And then I'm going to do
You get a little bit slow. You probably need to add some power, John. This is a hard plane to fly in the sim. It's a really hard one
it's no
because
joke.
it doesn't have auto throttles.
Yeah. What's weird is I think somewhere along the line I lost the flight plan. And I don't know why. But we're gonna go direct Baltimore. Then I'm gonna click on nav. Change the CDI to GPS. And we're going direct Baltimore. Alright, I'm going to turn the plane down. Noise canceling headphones coming on. Alright, see you flies. 787, catch you later. That was beautiful airmanship. AP wasn't doing what you wanted, so you killed it. Yeah, I probably needed to kill it a little bit earlier, but
Yeah, the IS mode in this one, or the speed mode for pitch, does not work well unless you have it set nice and stable. And then as soon as you change the thrust, it goes all over the place. What I find when I've flown this, in the real jet, that's not an issue. It works great in the real jet. It's a simism. What I find works the best is the vert speed if you're going to use the autopilot. You've really got to watch your power in this.
And really, it's not vert speed. It's just pitch hold.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, so we got 2 more items on the checklist real quick. Hydraulic pressure indicator, you want to check that, make sure it's working. Check your pressurization system, make sure that you're pressurizing. In this case, we should be reading sea level still.
Yep.
And after takeoff checklist is complete.
After takeoff checklist is complete. Thank you.
There's a climb checklist, we'll run at 18,000.
All right, I'm going to pitch up a little bit higher because once I change it, I have to re-engage vert speed?
Yeah, in the real jets, you could play with your pitch trim.
In this one, it doesn't.
In this one, I think it kicks off your autopilot. In the real plane, you can play with the pitch trim to increase your vert speed.
Well, I'm increasing my vert speed, and it's autopilot's staying on at the moment.
So maybe they do have it modeled.
But it's
So
not.
here's the other
It's
thing.
not holding it though.
You probably just engage your autopilot, then re-engage it when you get the pitch you want. You want to hit the autopilot, not that.
Yeah.
Actually,
no.
that'll probably work. That'll probably
Yeah.
work. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
That'll work. And you're coming in a cloud, so what should you be thinking?
There's probably some anti-ice here. Would you do?
If your temperature is less than 10 degrees, your temperature gauge, I believe, is way over to your left, above your circuit breaker panel, if I remember right. What's nice about this plane is the tail is heated.
Yeah,
so
I don't see the.
I think it's on the left side. Or I may be confusing the Baron. I'm probably confusing the Baron. Yep, I'm confusing the Baron.
Okay. One thing, captains, I always advise: make sure you can see what your temperature is before you take off. Make sure you know you can find it. It's in here somewhere.
Actually, K-Vark, where's the outside? Where's your total air temperature gauge at?
There's a
K-Vark.
there's a Celsius right there, next to the turbine.
Well, there we go.
So that's
so you can
below
see it's
10.
It's below 10, so you'd want the engine. As a minimum, you want the engine outside.
Nacelle heat. Windshield. Sure.
Windshields, we tended to not use. Actually, the windshield you use, what that does is it blows hot air up on the windshield. The radar you need to use sparingly, because what the radar does is it leaks alcohol on the radome, and that tank is not very big. K-Vark, do they still have that in the later model Lears that has the alcohol for the radar?
They say positive rate, gear up, lights off. Taxi and landing lights come off right away. Really?
No, it's only the later ones, the ones you're flying.
They announced, by the way, gentlemen, they announced a Learjet 25 that's coming for the sim. And they showed some pictures of it. Not FlySimWare, it's another developer, but a 25 is coming. Petrie Ron, how you doing, sir? Looks like it's capturing 10,000, so that's good.
You just remember to pull your thrust back a little bit as it captures.
I'm already back a little bit. Should I go back even more than 91?
No. If you've already done it, no.
Okay.
Just keep an eye on your airspeed.
All right. We're supposed to be below 250 knots. 250 or below.
Yeah, once you get to 10, you can speed up. But one thing you got to be careful of is there is a 250 knot speed limit actually at 10 in the Lear. You can see the red line at 250. But your actual true overspeed is that barber pole.
Okay.
That 250 knots is a artificial one because the plane's only been tested for bird strikes up to 250 knots. It's funny, Aquafunk. When I flew this plane, I used to carry a little bottle of isopropyl rubbing alcohol. Because some of the places we went with the Lear, there was no way to de-ice. And a lot of times you get cold soaked fuel frost. And rubbing alcohol did wonders on removing it from the wings.
Who gets to do the bird testing job? Yeah, that's a good question.
Since you're not going to go above 10, John, there is a climb checklist.
Okay.
But you only run that at 18. But what the climb checklist is, you're going to set the altitude 2992.
Okay.
Air conditioning as required. Recognition lights come off above 10. I'm sorry, above 18. And then we're going to check the fuel balance. And you want to make sure the wings are within 1,000 pounds of each other.
All right, so we got right tip, empty.
It's
right,
colder than
right
-40.
wing, fuselage. Yeah, the wings are even, so that's good.
And K-Bart, the answer is if it's colder than -40. And -40C and -40F.
Is icing temps from 10C to -40 or -40F? Okay.
-40C and -40F at the same time.
Yep. When do they start to divert again? There's at some point they start to diverge again, but it's not for a little while.
So, John, do you like this model?
I kind of wish it had an auto throttle, but that's the real plane doesn't have that, so I respect the that. It's I felt like that takeoff. It put me into rocket ship mode straight up, and I didn't like that. So I think it's maybe after takeoff, maybe while I'm in that climb on runway heading, I'm gonna take back that throttle a little bit, and like you said, just get very stable. So it's just a matter of getting used to it.
I think this is a very hard model to fly,
No.
to hand fly. I think it's very hard. It takes all my attention. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I really like it, but it's just it takes a lot.
It's the best Lear we have for P3D for sure.
And the real plane is a rocket.
Snak Air accidentally bought a Learjet 45, and then we turned around and sold it. We meant to buy the 35, so we'd like to buy a 35 eventually, but I don't know how many people fly it in Snak Air or not. But
There's also a cruise checklist that we'd run up at when we got to altitude. You want me to run through that real quick?
sure,
All right. Some of the stuff isn't going to apply. Cabin altitude, you're going to check that.
it's checked.
Oxygen pressure supplies checked.
Would you check cabin altitude if you're at 10,000 feet?
Probably not, because
because you're not near. Yeah,
this is a cruise. This is meant when you're up around 41, 42.
I would say if you're above 14, probably check it. But I mean, we can check it anyway. But I'm just saying, when we were flying at 10,000 feet, we're not worried about oxygen.
Yep. NI systems as required. Up at cruise, you're probably not going to need it. So this is more of a turn it off.
Yeah. All right. That's
if you don't need it.
Nacelle off.
Air ignition switches as required. You're probably not going to use that unless you're in moderate turbulence or icing. No smoking seatbelt switches required. Circuit breakers, we're going to check those one more time. In the Lear, this is real important. You're going to check the battery temperatures.
Circuit breakers checked. Battery temperatures.
Yeah, that's that rainbow-looking gauge just to the left of your flap gauge. The Learjets had a tendency to get a thermal runaway.
Oh, my flaps didn't go up. That was weird. Now they're going. They must have kicked back down accidentally. All right, the rainbow gauge. Sorry, where?
Just to the right of your throttles. And to the left of
down
the
there.
flaps.
Yep. Okay, I see that.
There's two rainbow gauges. The gauge to the right of the rainbow gauges, I believe, is the battery temp.
So we've got stab temp, wing temp, and temp continuous.
What those wing temps are and that stab temp is when you're running your anti-icing, you don't want it to get in the red. If it gets in the red, it means that it's using hot air. It's just telling you that it's getting too hot.
I didn't realize it also had flap indication here, which is interesting because you obviously have it where I guess it's a way to double check it. Okay.
But you want to make sure that those batteries aren't running hot. And there's checklists for things to do if you start getting to the top of that temp scale.
Overspeeding. Now that my flaps are up, I'm going 348.
You haven't oversped yet.
No, I'm just saying I wanted to be near 250 because once I start descent, I'm immediately below 10,000, and I've got to practice that ATC limit. So, and we're going to start descending pretty soon, so I need to get... Yeah, I need to descend, but I need to not overspeed, over 250.
So the last two items on this are going to be air conditioning as required, fuel balance checked again, and then cruise checklist complete.
Okay, air conditioning checked, fuel balance checked, back to total.
You're going to notice every checklist you're checking fuel balance. This plane can get uncontrollable. There was a really nasty Air Force crash in Alabama about 20 years ago where the guys lost control of the fuel balance.
Kate Upton, Peachy Ron. Kate Upton is in the back. And her entourage. She wants to know, she basically wants to know what our instrument approach is today. And she also wants to know what's our descent something. I don't know. What is she asking? Oh, Justin's not here.
Is that what she asked you? She asked me a different question.
She was just talking to airplanes with me, just Lear.
She asked me if the jeans she was wearing made her butt look big.
What did you say? There is no right answer to that.
Of course not.
I would have said, do you want them to look big? Because maybe you want a little more bass.
All right, there's a descent checklist. You want to run through that?
Yeah, I do.
I have penciled in on every one of these checklists radar. I do not remember why I have, but
probably just look at the radar, see if there's
heading and attitude systems is checked. Again, you just want to make sure that the altimeters are reading the same. There's no compasses going off. Crew briefing. This is where you'll brief the arrival and the approach. Windshield heat as required. Pressurization set. This one's important. You want to take that little wheel and scroll it back down to whatever your landing altitude is. And I happen to know Baltimore's 143 feet.
Okay, we're going to Frederick.
Okay.
So close enough. 306 feet. Okay, pressure set.
And ice systems as required.
Any ice off?
Fuel balance checked again. She just did. And recognition lights come back on, which we didn't turn off because we didn't get above. We didn't get above 18.
Recognition still on. Yep.
All right, descent checklist complete.
Okay.
So we need to figure out what our landing weight's going to be, and that's going to determine
our. All right, I
our.
have a question. So I'm about 8C, and I'm going to pass through this cloud. Would you put it on engine heat?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can't hurt, right?
Nope. I don't. We had a guy trash a Lear engine going through what he thought was them without using it, and just absolutely destroyed an engine. And he was the general's exec.
All right, let me program in an approach here. So, back, procedure, approach.
I'm going to be AFK for a minute.
Okay. Flight plan. KFD. K. Procedure, approach. We'll do 2.3 LPV. Sure. Now, maybe we'll just do ILS 2.3. And we'll go via EMI. All right, I'm going to reset my altitude to 2,800. Actually, no, I'm going to set it to 1,700. 1,700 set, and then we're going to go, I'm going to pitch down, so I'm going to use bring back the power here so we don't overspeed. I'm going to pitch the plane down to about there. No, just above 1,000 feet per minute. Again, bringing the power back. And then I'm going to hit VS. But I'm also going to hit Alt Select Arm. All right, we're descending at about 1,500 feet, 1,500 feet per minute. We got a subscribe. Iowa Scotsman.
We got a subscribe.
38 months from the beginning has been here. Thank you, Iowa, for 38 months. Holy snack lips. I think we're flying. Yeah, we're flying right over Baltimore. So normally you wouldn't fly over Baltimore at this altitude, but well, maybe you would. 8,000. Flying while you work. There you go. Just going to add a little bit of power to get back up here. And while we're on this descent, oh, we got another subscribe.
We got a subscribe.
Good morning, John and chat.
Thank you, Alt F8, for the subscribe. Thank you for your support and also your liveries. Thank you. I flew that citation the other day.
Subscribe.
The new Snak Air Executive livery. It was awesome. I'm gonna go do a lab inspection. I'll be right back. We're actually going to level off here at 3,000. It was a first draft for sure. It needs some TLC. Oh, I like it. I like it quite a bit. So thank you. I got a package in the mail, guys. Look. A package. I believe it's a long sleeve T-shirt. They gave them free out to Discord partners, so pretty happy about that. Some new wear to wear on stream and around the house. I'm gonna go direct flight plan. I'm gonna go direct and there we go. Actually, I take it back. I'm gonna go direct. No, that's fine. Numbi.
Every day, but once I knew what was going on and why it was happening, it made a lot more sense and I became okay with it.
Getting a little bit slow there. I'm going to descend to... We're supposed to be at Fessin at 22. Well, not yet. Not quite yet. I'm testing out this Pretzel Rocks program. That was a weird song. I think it will say in chat what the song is, but this one doesn't sound too bad. There it is, Pretzel Rocks posted. Black Eyes and Blue by Cryjax. This Pretzel Rocks is for streamers, so. No, I did not see the crash investigation. No. When did you post that? A bit ago? Okay. I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Tylenol. Oh, now we're over speeding. There we go. John Fly's posting. All right, we're gonna get down to 2,200 feet. I'm gonna pitch down. We'll click on vertical speed and altitude capture. There's the predictions coming in.
I'm back.
Roger.
I'm back.
We're descending down to 2,200. We're doing the ILS 23 at Frederick, Maryland.
And John, the big thing we need is a what's your weight?
Pause the music. That's actually a good song. I'm gonna hit like on that one. What's my fuel weight?
What's your total weight? What's the total aircraft weight?
15.7.
We use
15
16,
15.8. Yeah. Didn't use much fuel.
So your VREF speed you're looking at is going to be 130.
130, okay.
So you got some important numbers you need to remember. In the real plane, again, you have those little markers you could use. But so VREF plus 40, so 170 is your mid flaps up speed.
170, okay.
160 is your min speed to fly with flaps 8. 150 is your min speed to fly around at flaps 20. So if you're slower than that, you need to have flaps 40. And then you want to land flaps 40. So you're going to use 130 is your reference speed. You want to have 5 knots above that is your target. So 135.
Okay.
And that's how you get your mid maneuver speeds. It's all based. It's VREF plus 40 for flaps up, VREF plus 30 flaps 8, VREF plus 20 flaps 20, VREF plus 10 for flaps 40. Actually, VREF is your flaps 40 mid speed. Would you like to do an approach checklist real quick?
Sure.
All right, altimeters,
Set.
circuit breakers checked,
Checked.
hydraulic pressure and emergency air pressure indicators checked,
Checked.
fuel balance is checked.
Yeah, right. Wings look good.
Landing data computed and bug set, which is what we just did. Approach briefing is completed. Radar altimeter as required. Cabin is checked. No smoking. Belt switch is required. Approach check is complete.
I'm going to put my landing lights on. Plane
That's actually
should-
part of the. You're going to do a before landing checklist, and that's where you run. Unless you want to do it now.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
All right. Well, actually, this one goes when you go landing gear lever will be down.
Landing gear lever down.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it down just yet unless you want to.
Well, I'm about... yeah, I can put it down now. Okay, gear coming down.
Engine sync is off.
Engine sync is never been on.
That's right behind your throttles.
It's off.
We'll talk about that, what engine sync does in the ground. Crossflow valve closed with the crossflow fuel light out.
Okay, cross flow fuel light out.
Parking brake, ensure parking brake is released and light is out.
Released.
Anti-skid switch is anti-skid.
Anti-skid set.
Air ignition switch is left and right.
Air ignition switch is
Vertical
left and
track.
right on.
Landing lights go to landing lights.
Okay, landing lights are on.
TR switch is arm if desired.
Check.
Flaps as required.
Flaps as required. We're setting 20 right now. Airport in sight.
Hydraulic pressure indicator is checked.
Hydraulics checked.
And before line check is complete.
Glide slope is armed. Oh, and I need to go back down here and change the CDI to VLOC. Please
How
start.
did you change that?
Oh, how do
real
I
quick?
set my course? I gotta set my course here.
You have to do in your HSI.
229. Okay, set. Glide slope is armed. Oh, altitude hold is on. There's capture on the glide slope.
Yeah, just remember your glide slope's on the left side, not.
There we go.
Okay, so
I
I'll
see it.
start
Yeah,
over.
we're a little bit. There we go.
That's
Now we're in the lane to Neptune mass. Okay,
Yeah, just remember flaps
160, flaps 40,
And 135 is your target speed.
135. Decel. Bring it back to throttle. Kate Upton just yelled at me from the back and said she's predicting 144. There's that. Mechanical disc pause. All right, we're about 148.
I just remember a landing rollout, you got to manually deploy that speed brake.
Yeah, I'm going to use a toggle on my joystick if it works.
That took me.
Oh, actually, no. I can do slash, I think. Because it's the same as speed brake. So I can do, yeah, so I can do a slash on the, I think it'll be bound. Sasha is not back there, no.
So this is P3D scenery?
Yeah, this is Orbex. Global base and North American land class. It's not bad.
What's the damage on that?
I don't know, actually. It's been a long time since I've purchased those or acquired those. All right, 140. Pappies are happy. All right, I'm going to disengage autopilot.
Yeah, I noticed that K-bar.
Can I take the yaw damper off here? Yeah. Oh, glide slope getting low. A little to the left here. A little bit low.
I think the yaw dampers automatically kick off at touchdown.
Oh no. Feel like I'm coming in too hot. Nose is a little bit high. Reversers. Oh, our arms reversers. We didn't arm them.
Better get those speed brake. I better get those spoilers out.
Yeah. Where was the arming of the thrust reversers in our checklist?
Let's go back and look at it.
Oh, my nose steering. Steer lock on. There we go.
It was on the before landing checklist,
Okay.
and it's an as required.
Oh, okay.
Would you like an after landing checklist?
Yes, please.
All right, flaps up.
Flaps coming up.
Spoilers retract if used.
Spoilers retracted.
Stall warning switches off.
Stall warning switches off.
Air ignition switches off.
Air ignition switches off.
Thrust reversers off.
Thrust reversers off.
And a collision light off, or strobes are off.
Strobes
And a collision red, or
off.
yeah, ours was different. We had a 3 position. It was either red, white, strobe, or that recognition lights are off.
Recognition off.
And landing taxi lights as required.
Taxi lights on. Oh,
Pitot heat off.
hold on a second. My taxi lights aren't coming off. There we go. Pitot heat off. Oh, and engine heat was on. Oops.
That's the next step.
Okay.
Because after Pitot heat's NI systems as required.
Okay.
Unnecessary avionics off.
All right.
Yeah, when I sim here, I just take the master avionics switched off at this point.
Was the landing 63 feet per minute? Wow. All right, C206 stationary 1. That one. Exclamation add 333 to C206 stationary.
Transponder standby.
Transponder is on ground, so that's fine.
That'll work. Standby attitude in the cager. Caged.
Cager. Cager's caged. Cager's
Cabin
not
air
caged. But
off.
cabin air is off.
Fuselage fuel transfer is required. So in this case, if we had carried a lot, we knew fuel wasn't here. If we had fuel back, we would bring it forward at this time.
Okay.
After landing checklist complete.
Thank you. I do like this bird.
It's hard to fly though.
It is, and it's fun.
You got to really stay on top
But
of
you
it.
do have to stay on top of it, and so it's a little bit scary when you're on, say, Pilot Edge or VADSIM. It's a little bit intimidating to stay within your parameters.
That's the best way to say it. You got to stay on top of this plane.
Yeah. Are you considering signing up for VADSIM, or did you?
I did.
Sweet.
I got to do some homework first though. I'm not ready for prime time yet.
Roger.
I got a long 20-hour.
Kate Upton wants to park here.
All right, looks like a shutdown checklist.
Yes. No, actually no, because I'm gonna do a replay and I want the plane on. But maybe after the replay, if you're okay with that. All right, FSEconomy got logged.
We can do a taxi back checklist. That's where we drop a VIP off at one place and then we plan on taxiing afterwards to a different location.
5,084, 44-minute flight. 29.50 earnings after expenses. What's Kate doing here? She's coming to Frederick, Maryland for a photo shoot. Yeah, in fact, it's a photo shoot with this plane, but they wanted this airport to be the backdrop.
And they said off-schedule descent can't be anywhere in the photo.
Well, he can, but he has to have his costume on. He's playing the role of the Rampy today. All right, let's take this back, bad boy, back. There we go. Shades are all down. She's getting ready for her shoot. It's too cold for a swimsuit, so.
It's never too cold for a swimsuit.
You wear your Speedo out and about in the neighborhood during February. Frame rate's a little bit dicey here. The replay engine here is not 100% baked, but Chase Plane has replay, so if you guys don't know about that, it's pretty handy.
Did not know about that. Do I have to turn something on ahead of time to record it, or is it?
Nope, it's automatic. And as you can see here in the window, it shows your altitude, so you can scroll back to as far as you want. I think my nose is a little too high here on landing, but in fact, it was definitely a little right of center.
Hey, the center line is between the main gear.
Not now, but it was for a split second. What I want to know, though, is...
Your reverse is deployed. Look at that.
Yeah, my reversers did. They don't need to be armed in the simism. If I come back here and I have a sight line in the cockpit, this is definitely... So right here, I'm lined up. I'm going to pause it here and see. All right, let me look on the outside here. So that's definitely on the left side of center line. So in order to do a more center line approach, I need to be lining it up.
See the left edge of your AOA indicator?
Maybe right there.
A little further left. Right about there, I'm thinking.
Yeah, so line up. I think you're right. Just, yeah, aligned with those screws maybe will be a good way to do it.
So your pitot heat off and your left stall. So this thing, when it does the replay, keeping your plane where you left it on the ground, because that's where your switches were
Yeah,
after you landed.
yeah, it's yeah. Although no, it's showing my flaps down, which is normally I thought it didn't, but I guess it is. Tail left. Front near. Oops. The landing rate's going off and on. That's funny. What's interesting is on the replay, the landing rates are quite a bit different.
I thought the picture was going to be her holding a napkin that said she.
Yeah, she needs to. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, a Snak Air photo shoot, exactly.
Be a Snak Air advertisement.
Yep. All right, Sim Toolkit Pro. I'll complete the flight, even though it had some bogus landing rates.
Blinded the marshaller with your landing lights there.
Yep, I did. Well, actually, that was, believe it or not, that's taxi lights, not landing lights. So, but yeah, I was blinding him with my taxi lights. Pretty cool plane. I like it.
I just need to figure out how to put new liveries on. Is that cosmic or is it straightforward? I downloaded a bunch. I just
Well,
don't know
you put a Snak Air livery. Oh no, you used a PTP file. Never mind. If I had to do it from memory, I believe you go into. I could be wrong on this, but I believe you go into P3D add-ons. No, it's not in here. Okay, so you go to your P3D directory.
Right.
Inside P3D, you go to the Sim Objects folder.
Right. That's right.
And then airplanes. And then you look for the F-35. No, not the F-35.
The Lear, the flights,
The FlySim Lear35. And then in here, there's texture files. So texture dot whatever. So when you download a livery, you extract and you bring the texture in here. And then you have to modify this aircraft CFG file. And so the last one that is here is FlightSim number .8. So you just usually when you download it comes with the text that you need to put in.
Just cut and paste it.
You cut and paste it, and then you do sequential. So the next one would be FlightSim .9. Save that, and then restart the sim, and it should be in there. And you can probably get some liveries on AvSim, avsim.com.
They got a bunch at the FlySimWare. They actually had two that I really liked.